My eyes feel crazy.
So do mine.
We should have gotten you a really chunky necklace and
padlock,
some earrings and stuff.
I actually have a chain, like a 3-chain necklace.
And you have a tank top somewhere.
Won't you lock me in your heart?
Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Pamela Anderson.
And this is So I'm Watching Pam and Tommy, Season 1, Episode 8.
Seattle.
Okay, this was the finale.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely enjoyed this show.
Yes.
I think for me, the biggest takeaway was the performances.
Mm-hmm.
I did take a lot from the fleshing out of the story, and in particular, the rise of the internet. I think all in all, I did find it kind of redundant.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe this could have been a movie, or certainly maybe 6 episodes instead of 8. I'm not sure.
In my opinion, there was too much at the beginning about Rand and Milty and not enough about, like, this is the final episode, and it is entirely possible that, like, until, like, now, Tommy Lee never realized the difference between his experience with this tape and Pamela's experience with this tape. But the thing is, I feel like we could have spent more time exploring that.
I think that there's a point in the middle of the show where you realize that the narrative is not going to conclude in a satisfactory way.
Of course. Because
ultimately is what happened, is what this show posits, is that the trauma and stress of going through this, their relationship wasn't able to withstand that.
Mm-hmm.
And without this, history might have gone down differently.
Right.
You know, there's no way of knowing. And I think, again, like I said, there's a point in the middle where we have Bob Guccione and Hugh Hefner, and it's building into more of a, and having never seen this movie, I get the sense that it's building to like a People versus Larry Flint thing.
Oh, okay.
Where ultimately we end kind of where we start.
Yeah.
In that this was bad for this couple and it was worse for her than it is for him.
Yeah.
And so we fully ultimately get that by episode 3. And all the rest of the series really does is sort of introduce elements and then sort of just explore the gradual falling out. So for me, it kind of just like.
That's the thing, especially because this episode, it just sort of opens and the penthouse issue is out.
Mm-hmm.
The pictures of her are in Penthouse. And that is, you're right. It's like a lot of buildup. And then every time there's enough buildup, it's just like, well, and it happened anyway. And you're like, I was expecting a little more. Like, and that's not to say I believe that it was like more dramatic than this in real life, but it's like, this is a narrative. And so I was expecting more of like a payoff.
I think ultimately, because like I said, the thing that I appreciated the most about it was the performances and sort of the, I guess I'll go ahead and call it kind of like cosplaying history, like cosplaying pop culture. And it's certainly, we're nostalgic for this anyways. So it was definitely enjoyable. But I think any grand thesis statement it had to say, it said again by the 3rd episode,
right.
We were there.
Imagine that we drew barbed wire on my arm. I just thought of it.
I mean, that's mostly it. That's mostly my take. The way that it played out was that, you know, Penthouse came out and the people saw it and her career kind of took a ding.
Yeah.
There's an implication between this video and the underperformance of Barbed Wire. How I looked up recently and they did say that actually they think the video was like Barbed Wire probably would have flopped regardless.
Yeah.
But the video did do damage.
Oh.
So
I don't know, that would be sort of the thing where it'd be like, you would think almost that it would be like, do you want to go see the movie that she's in?
I mean, when the better one is free.
Is it better? Is the sex tape better?
By reputation.
Ugh.
For the people masturbating? I mean.
I didn't realize before, it's a birthday also.
At some point.
At some point on their honeymoon in this tape, there is a birthday cake.
But I guess is what happened was once it was out, and therefore it was news, and therefore it was public domain. And this tech guy in Seattle, Seth, acquired it and was showing. He
just got a videotape.
Yeah, he acquired it and was showing it on his Cam website for free, and that's where it actually blew up. That's where it actually took off. And so, because I did know that there was a contract somewhere, and I know that she has said and maintains to this day that she didn't make a dime off of it, and she's very adamant and proud of that. I get it. I think it's interesting, and I definitely think, given how kind of, we'll go with screwed over she was the entire process, that the final decision gets to be hers. And basically this dude, Seth, here's my issue, is I don't understand how he's allowed to legally own it, but they're not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't understand how he's allowed to be like, I have this thing. It's
well, because the rulings have all already been granted, basically. He's working within the precedent that's already been set. The penthouse thing is legal. He's allowed to keep it for free on his website. And so basically...
So as long as you steal something publicly, then you own it?
The judges have already ruled on those two things.
I understand that. Yeah. And so I'm like, if you make a big enough scene, then it's news. Ergo,
I don't know that
whoever has it owns it.
I don't know that still holds.
But that's kind of what happened.
But this was like a brand new thing that they were like making up the rules right now. So I don't know if this has been at any point, but
we had a similar conversation in an episode like 3 or 4 or whatever, where we were speaking very flippantly. But we said that, there was an air that, well, they're quote unquote trashy people, ergo they deserve this. And I mean, that's ultimately one of the morals of the show. That's one of the things the show was pointing out.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing too, is like once they sign that piece of paper, that is essentially the release that all of the porn distributors were asking Rand for at the beginning. So once they sign that, then he can do whatever he wants to it. $77 million.
It's wild. It's really, really wild. I think that it did end, like you said, with several cards saying they went on to this and that. And obviously they did break up. They got back together. It didn't last, although they both have sort of referred to each other as the great love of their lives.
Yeah.
You get the sense that this was destined. I mean, if not this, something. The show didn't really get into the his abuse stuff.
Yeah, and the way that they framed what did happen narratively didn't totally work for me. Because like the first instance where she's like, you hurt my arm, he is like trying to get her out of a dangerous situation. But it's like equated with this like undercurrent of violence. The way that him grabbing her arm in the elevator is framed is that he is like I said, getting her out of a dangerous situation. And so for her to be like, you hurt my arm. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And she's like, and it just puts this weird taste on something where he actually is behaving a little too rashly, but he's doing it to get her to safety. And then it just really snowballs immediately. And I know that this is like the big ending of their like relationship or whatever, but when he screams at her about the paperwork, whatever, I don't know, it really, like, we know that he's angry, but it was really, really fast for him to be that angry at her. It was just weird to me.
I mean, I think it was building. I don't necessarily know that the anger was that he was necessarily angry at her. I think it was,
well, the situation.
Yeah.
I also just like don't understand how he's still confused about how it's different for her. He's like, you keep saying that and it just sounds like bullshit. And I'm like, it's not bullshit. And that, because even Nikki Sixx was like, you like to show your giant dick to people. Like, it's a different thing. Like, it's funny for him, like, having this out there, and people are congratulating him, and people are just like, Pamela's a slut. She can't be in LA Confidential. She can't be in the Austin Powers movie. And like, but Baywatch wants her back, and it's just sort of like, ugh, I don't know. I don't know how he doesn't understand. I don't understand how he doesn't understand. It's annoying.
I mean, the show never shows him have the moment, the aha moment,
Yeah.
but the show acknowledges it because she catches him. It's kind of her final straw is she catches him finally leaning into it because it's easier and he's having a good time and she can't sleep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
horrible.
I would like to believe the Rand Gautier arc. It seems like he got there. Again, it was very sort of convenient. I think that the theater of it all was very present, especially with the psychic that we set him up as like a mystic. So I mean, it's there. But I found it. Go ahead.
I just don't. It's like a very cheap, like, come to Jesus, in my opinion. So
I don't know if this was the point. I mean, I guess it has to be the point, but him apologizing to the effigy of her, it was so, you're almost there.
Well, because I felt very similar about Tommy.
Yeah.
Where I was like, you are so close to understanding.
Because it's like, you now get to sleep at night.
Yeah.
Like, you now get to feel better, but you've still reduced her to an image.
Exactly.
And like I said, maybe that's the point. And maybe in that regard, I find it, we just watched it and now we're talking about it. And so I retain the right to be a dumbass about, to not have a clue what I'm talking about.
You know what you're watching. It didn't stick the landing, in my opinion, like something honestly, really just The People versus OJ is the only one that's really stuck the landing, in my opinion. All the rest of like these type of things are not 100%. Like even the Monica Lewinsky one was like pretty good, but it's just like I don't know. It's hard to really nail something like this. And I think it just didn't stick the landing. Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's bad by any means, but it was just sort of, and I feel weird referring to it as pleasant because it was not. But
it was really, really hurt my feelings a lot, but the performances were amazing.
It was an interesting, well-made show, but I don't know that it's going to stick with me
No, not forever.
Forever. And certainly, again, to say it a 20th time, what will stick with me is that, both of them, but in particular, Lily. I do hope it brings her sort of somewhere. And actually, I mean, if we want to put a cherry on top of this Sunday, was announced that Pamela Anderson herself is going to be headlining as Roxy Hart in Chicago on Broadway. That's a fantastic gig. Chicago is sort of written in such a way that Roxy is an accessible role.
Yeah.
It's not a powerhouse role that requires like a fine-tuned instrument.
Yeah. She's also doing her own documentary on Netflix about this whole thing. So we will
and I would be curious
check that out.
To get into more because there's highs and lows. I mean, there's more that comes. Like I said, I mean, my peak Pamela Anderson for me was VIP. I loved VIP. And as mentioned, she has a very silly scene in Scary Movie 3 that I always liked. And she did a couple of things here and there. I would like to see more of her relationship with Playboy, all of that. But I did want to say about her being in Chicago, there was a tweet from someone at the Kev B said, Pamela Anderson in a musical about how the media controls which victims we root for, which criminals we sensationalize, and whether a woman is a saint or a slut. Exquisite.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good move.
Did we finish talking about Rand? The implication is that he sort of not rekindles his relationship with Erica, but
no, they leave on like decent terms, and he gives her the $10,000 that he should have paid off the mobster with, and then he didn't even leave the state.
Yeah, I guess. I was going to say, I'm not sure that we know exactly what happened, but I mean that's the way it presented it.
It said that then maybe the like gangster part of it is made up, but it's like he owed him $50,000 and he decided to say 10 and call it even. The gangster, Butchie, Andrew Dice Clay. And then he got $10,000 because he sold the original tape to Seth. And then he gave Erica the $10,000 instead. And then, like I said, he didn't even leave the state. You don't even go.
He did because he went
to Northern California.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think the Seattle in my mind, he was like.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, and now
I mean, like, it's not like I think that Butchie is like that big of a gangster, but it's like, at least leave the state. Like, I I don't know. It was pretty good. Taylor Schilling remained awesome.
That's what I started to say. Is I started to say she was also another one of the takeaways for me. I wouldn't mind seeing her do a little bit more than she's doing. To say it again. I think she ought to get over on something like an American Horror Story.
Yeah.
Or she needs to get in one of those
definitely
machines.
Yeah, I mean, overall good. I agree with you. I think it didn't really stick the landing. There was something that, like, I don't want more episodes, but it almost feels unfinished. Like, it feels like it wasn't done yet. So, I don't know.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, that was our coverage of Pam and Tommy.
Yay.
Please like and subscribe. It is very helpful for the growth of this channel. Yep. If you would like to contribute more, we have a Patreon, we have a Venmo, we have a Cashapp. It helps us do more, do better, new cameras, new lights, all of that.
More of this.
So thank you to our friends, thank you to our fans, thank you to our patrons, and click the links and bye.